What happens when love is real, but your visions for the future aren't the same? Before assumptions turn into heartache, let's talk about the expectations we carry and how to bridge the gap with honesty, compassion, and growth. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be taken as medical advice. Always consult with a healthcare professional before making any changes to your health routine. Hey there, beautiful friends. Welcome back to Pure Bliss Living, where we explore life, love, and all the deep stuff in between. I'm your host Ariana, and today we're diving into one of the most quietly powerful forces that shapes every relationship we're in: expectations. Whether spoken or silent, expectations shape how we love, how we connect, how we argue, and how we heal. And when those expectations aren't aligned, when you and your partner are on different pages, it can feel like you're both speaking the same language with completely different dictionaries. Now, let's be real. It's normal to come into a relationship with our own set of hopes, desires, and beliefs. We carry them from our upbringing, past experiences, culture, and even the media we consume. But navigating a relationship means realizing that someone else's normal might look totally different from yours, and that's not a deal breaker. It's an individual to communicate, reflect, and grow. In this episode, we're going deep into the heart of this. We'll talk about why we develop different expectations in the first place, how to recognize when you and your partner aren't aligned, how to talk about those differences without it spiraling into conflict, and what to do when compromise isn't possible. We'll also explore what it means to grow together, how to evolve your expectations with love and intention. And just a quick reminder that this podcast is for informational and personal growth purposes only. It's not a substitute for professional counseling or medical advice. If you're going through something intense, especially around emotional well-being or trauma, please seek support from a licensed therapist or counselor. Now, let's dive in. At the heart of every relationship lies an intricate web of expectations, most of which were formed long before we ever met our partner. These expectations are deeply embedded in our internal programming, shaped by layers of experience that range from childhood memories to adult heartbreaks. We carry them not just in our thoughts, but in our bodies and nervous system. They live in the way we interpret silence, in how we feel after a disagreement, and in what we believe love should look like. For some of us, expectations around emotional closeness stem from watching affectionate, communicative parents, while others might have grown up in households where love was shown more practically through acts of service, hard work, or sacrifice. We might expect daily affirmations of love, constant reassurance, or shared financial goals, not because we've chose them intentionally, but because they've always been our normal. These ideals also get reinforced by culture and media. Think of how romantic comedies, social media influencers, or even spiritual communities often portray the ideal relationship: soulmates who always know what each other needs without asking, partners who grow in perfect sync, or couples who never seem to argue. These narratives can quietly become internalized truths that we start measuring our real-life relationship against, often without realizing it. And then there is the subtle influence of past relationships, ones that left wounds or longing. If you were once with a partner who was emotionally unavailable, you might now expect your new partner to over-communicate as a form of safety. If someone cheated in the past, your expectations around transparency may be heightened. It's a protective mechanism, your way of trying to prevent past pain from repeating itself. But these expectations, while can become rigid if you're not aware of them. We might confuse personal values with universal rules or assume that what we need emotionally must also be what our partner naturally wants to give. The real work begins when we become conscious of our expectations. When we can name them not as demands but as desires, preferences, or boundaries, we begin to relate with intentionality. And this isn't just about what we want from our partner. It's about understanding how we react when our needs aren't met. Do we shut down, lash out, overcompensate, or become passive aggressive? These reactions also reflect the deeper unmet needs that exist beneath the surface of expectation. To grow in love, we must first grow in self-awareness, and that means asking ourselves not just what we expect, but why. Misalignment in a relationship doesn't always come with flashing neon signs. Sometimes it's a quiet ache, a recruiting tension, or a vague dissatisfaction that surfaces in moments of silence or solitude. It's the feeling that something essential is being missed, but you can't quite name what it is. When our expectation and our partner's behavior don't match, we often begin to feel emotionally unsafe even if no one is doing anything wrong. You might notice you feel constantly misunderstood or like your emotional needs aren't being prioritized. Maybe you're craving more quality time, but your partner believes they're showing love by working hard and providing. Or perhaps you feel like you're moving forward in the relationship, envisioning a shared future, while they're content keeping things in the present without defending long-term plans. These mismatches can slowly create emotional disconnection, not because either person lacks love, but because the expression of that love doesn't match what the other person recognizes or values. Sometimes the signs show up in your inner world first. You might feel anxious after interactions that should feel reassuring, or frequently replay conversations in your head trying to decode their intentions. You might catch yourself comparing your relationship to others or second-guessing your own worth when you don't receive the response you hoped for. Over time, unmet expectations, especially unspoken ones, start to pile up like emotional clutter, weighting the relationship down. And while it's easy to assume that your partner should know what you need by now, here's the truth. Most of us operate with completely different relationship handbooks. If you haven't had clear conversations about key topics like exclusivity, future plans, emotional expression, financial priorities, boundaries, or how you each define intimacy, then chances are you're operating an assumption. And those assumptions, while understandable, can create profound misunderstandings. It's also important to acknowledge how your partner might be experiencing their own invisible misalignment. They may be feeling pressured, confused, or unsure how to meet your needs if they've never truly understood them. They may be acting from their internal blueprint, one that's different from yours but just as valid. The sign that you're not on the same page isn't necessarily conflict. It's often the absence of clarity. Talking about differing expectations isn't easy. It requires vulnerability, courage, and emotional maturity. But it's one of the most powerful and transformative things you can do for your relationship. The key is creating a space where both partners feel safe. Safe to be honest, to ask questions, to reveal fears, and to speak truth that might be messy or incomplete. Timing matters. Don't initiate these conversations in the middle of an argument or when either of you is tired, distracted, or emotionally raw. Set aside time intentionally. Frame the conversation not as a confrontation, but as a collaborative check-in. You can even preface it with something like, "I love us and I want to understand you better. Can we talk about how we're both feeling about where we are and where we're going?" Start from your own experience. Share what you've been noticing, not as accusations, but as reflections. For example, lately I've been thinking about what commitment means to me, and I realize I haven't shared what that looks like for me emotionally and practically. This kind of framing opens the door gently. As you talk, be ready to listen deeply, not to respond, defend, or debate, but to truly receive your partner's reality. They may express something you didn't expect, like a need for more autonomy, a fear of moving too fast, or confusion about what role they want to play in your long-term vision. Try not to interpret these truths as rejection. Instead, ask yourself, what do these words reveal about their needs, fears, or desires? Most importantly, remember that compromise doesn't mean collapsing your boundaries to fit someone else's vision. Real compromise honors both people's needs. It asks, where is the overlap? What are we each willing to adjust without abandoning ourselves? Compromise might mean reevaluating timelines, co-creating rituals of connection, or redefining what intimacy looks like on a daily basis. It's not about winning or losing, it's about building something shared. This kind of conversation isn't just one-time thing, it's a skill set. And like all skills, it gets stronger with practice. The more regularly you create space to check in, the more your relationship becomes a living, breathing collaboration rather than a static agreement. Sometimes, no matter how open the communication or how deep the love, we face a difficult truth. Our visions for partnership simply don't match, and this is one of the most heart-wrenching realities to sit with. It's not a matter of blame or failure, it's a matter of alignment. Maybe one of you is ready to build a life together, marriage, children, home, and the other is unsure if they ever want those things. Maybe you thrive on physical touch and regular verbal affirmations, and your partner feels most connected through space, solitude, or acts of service. Or perhaps your views on money, ambition, lifestyle, or spirituality take you in fundamentally different directions. In this moment, it's easy to slip into bargaining, to hope that with time they'll change, to downplay your own needs in an effort to preserve the connection. But long-term misalignment, especially around core values and life decisions, rarely resolves through hope alone. It takes real, often painful honesty to ask, can we honor each other while still honoring our truths? Choosing to part ways doesn't mean the relationship lacked love. It means you've recognized that love alone isn't always enough to build a sustainable future. It can be an act of immense respect to let someone go, not in anger, but in acknowledgement that forcing a shared vision might cause more harm than healing. That said, not all misalignments require separation. Sometimes it's about redefining what the relationship can be. Maybe you adjust your shared goals, maybe you move slower, maybe you realize that some expectations were inherited, not essential, and you're willing to release them in favor of something more authentic. Whether the outcome, clarity creates freedom. It gives you the gift of choice, intention, and agency. And that's far more powerful than staying in ambiguity out of fear or nostalgia. One of the most beautiful things about relationships is that they're not static. They're constantly evolving, and so are we. The expectation you had at the beginning of a relationship may shift dramatically over time. What felt like a non-negotiable a year ago might soften with new insight, life experiences, or emotional healing. To grow together, you must intentionally create space for this evolution. That means ongoing check-ins, monthly, quarterly, or after major life events, when you both sit down and ask, what's working for us right now? What's changed? What do we each need more or less of? These conversations keep your connection current. They help you make adjustments before things build up into resentment. Some couples benefit from setting rituals like a Sunday night relationship reset or annual vision planning. Others find that working with a couples therapist or coach helps them navigate growth with support. Whatever the method, the goal is simple: stay emotionally agile together. As you grow, you'll also find that your relationship becomes a mirror, not to reflect sameness, but to help you better understand your own values. Maybe your partner's independence helps you examine your own patterns of over-reliance. Maybe their openness challenges you to express needs you have long suppressed. Relationships help us confront our assumptions, stretch our empathy, and deepen our emotional capacity if we let them. A healthy, evolving partnership is one where individuality is respected, not erased, where both people feel empowered to be fully themselves, while still choosing to move forward together. It's a dance of honoring difference while building unity, a co-creation that's ever unfolding. Lastly, I want to offer something gentle, especially if today's episode stirred some big feelings. You're allowed to pause. You're allowed to step back and reflect before acting, deciding, or confronting. In a world that often demands instant clarity and resolution, it's powerful to say, I don't have all the answers yet, and that's okay. Give yourself space to breathe, journal, walk, sit with your own heart. Ask yourself not what your partner wants, but what you need. What expectations still feel true? Which ones may have shifted? What patterns are rooted in love and which in fear? Not everything has to be solved in one day. In fact, some of the deepest relationship insights come in moments of stillness. Sometimes the greatest growth happens not in big conversations, but in quiet personal realizations. So take your time, be gentle with your heart. Your truth will reveal itself when it's ready. And when it does, you'll be able to show up in your relationship from a place of wholeness, not urgency. Thank you so much for being here today. These conversations aren't easy, but they're deeply worth having. Whether you're in a relationship now or just reflecting on your patterns, I hope this episode gave you some clarity and courage to explore your expectations with more intention and grace. If this episode resonated with you, consider sharing it with a partner or friend who might find it meaningful. And remember, your needs, your voice, your growth, they all matter. Please like and subscribe this video. You deserve a relationship that honors who you are and gives you space to become even more of yourself. Until next time, keep growing, keep loving, and keep living your version of pure bliss. And I'll see you in the next episode.